It's almost 2021, a year which might bring up different emotions for different people. For some, it'll represent a relief from a year marred by the presence of the virus shutdown, and for others, it will be a step further into an uncertain future. My goal is to make that future seem a little bit less scary by laying out my top 9 financial goals for 2021. These goals are there to both help you grow personally and put yourself in a better financial position 1 year from now. Now let's start getting into those financial goals, and FYI, these aren't in any particular order. The first goal is to start tracking your money. The only way to gain control over your finances is to understand where your money comes from and where it's going. By keeping track of every dollar that goes in and goes out of your account every month, you can start that process. If you're just getting started out with this, I would recommend checking out mint.com, or they also have a mobile app. This is a website which lets you link your banking accounts as well as your credit cards and debit cards, and it will track all the different transactions you make automatically and assign them to different spending categories. This way you can see, oh, I spent $500 on restaurants this month. I should probably be more careful of that in the future. Now, if you are already tracking your money or you just want a more advanced option, I would recommend looking into either Every Dollar or You Need a Budget. With Every Dollar, you have to manually enter how much money you made and where it came from, as well as what money you spent and into what categories that spending went. You Need a Budget is similar, except it, like Mint, will automatically pull your information by linking your accounts. You Need a Budget costs $12 a month, but both Mint and Every Dollar are entirely free. Now, I personally actually use Every Dollar, and I kind of like the fact that it's a little bit more manual, because every time I'm spending money, I have to be very conscious of it to track it. It really makes purchases seem more concrete and makes you aware in the moment of the fact that what you're spending has value. Goal number 2 is to pay off your credit cards. The average US household has $5,700 in credit card debt, and paying off this debt is one of the best things you can do for yourself financially. The average credit card has an interest rate of 17.98%, meaning that if you don't pay off that balance every month, you will be paying that in compound interest. Now, the reason I recommend paying this off so strongly is because of how much that compound interest will cost you in the long term. If you were to invest money in the stock market, you would return around 8% on average per year. So if you invested $5,700 into the stock market for 10 years, you would have $12,300 at the end of that time. But if you could invest your money at a 17.98% interest rate, after 10 years, you would have over $29,000. That is the true cost of keeping credit card debt. If anyone besides a credit card company could earn 17.98% on their investments, they would be a billionaire. Even Warren Buffett, who's one of the most successful investors of all time and is a billionaire, only averaged around a 15% return over his lifetime. If you keep credit card debt around too long, you will make yourself very poor and you will make credit card companies very rich. Number 3 is to read a book. Now, how is this a financial goal, you might ask? It's my video, I get to make the rules, I reply. Just kidding. But I do think that reading books can absolutely help you financially. For this goal, I'm primarily focusing on non-fiction books that interest you. Reading fiction also has its benefits, but I think you're gonna see a better return on your time by reading a non-fiction book. The reason I include this goal is because reading is something that pretty much every billionaire says that they do. Bill Gates, Mark Cuban, Jeff Bezos, they all made their money in totally different ways, and yet they all have one thing in common. They're all voracious readers. And it makes sense. Books are a way to expose yourself to ideas that you would never encounter in everyday life, and at a much deeper level than you'll probably find on the internet. While you could watch 50 different YouTube videos on investing for beginners, chances are you could read one good book on investing for beginners and learn way more information. Now, if you're looking for some book suggestions, a couple that I read this year include The E-Myth, which is a book about how to start a business, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I actually made a video just on The 4-Hour Workweek. Now, if you already read a book last year, challenge yourself to something a little more difficult. Maybe challenge yourself to read one new book every month or two. This is a habit that you will really benefit from developing at any age. Number 4, contribute to your Roth IRA. If I told you there was a way to increase your retirement savings immediately by 25% while giving you complete control over that money, you'd probably be pretty interested in that. Well, that's exactly what a Roth IRA does. It's a tax-advantaged retirement account, which when you put the money in, you're taxed upfront, just like normal income, but then later on down the line when you want to withdraw that money, you can withdraw it entirely tax-free. Now, assuming that when you retire, you'd be paying 25% a year in taxes, that's 25% free money. The other benefit to a Roth IRA over something like a 401k is that a Roth IRA lets you invest your money in anything. You want to invest it in Bitcoin? You can do that. You want to put it into real estate or stocks or index funds? You can do all those things. While a 401k is usually locked down to just a couple funds that your employer provides. Lastly, a Roth IRA can act like a backup emergency fund. Whatever money you contribute to your Roth IRA, you can withdraw those contributions penalty-free, as long as you don't touch any of the money that you made in interest. If possible, I would try to max out the contributions that you're allowed to put into a Roth IRA every year, which is $6,000 a year or $500 a month. And if you already contribute to a Roth IRA, I would get you to challenge your friends to open one as well. No joke, I've convinced 3 of my friends this year to open Roth IRAs, and I'm way more proud of that than I should be. 5, set your bills to autopay. There's nothing worse than sitting there on the 5th of the month thinking, did I pay my credit card off this month? Only to log into your account to see that you've already been hit with late fees. The best way to avoid this is to set up all of your bills to be paid automatically from your checking account every month. Every bill provider out there will have an option for this. And if you can't find it right away, get on the phone with someone. I guarantee they have this because they want you to make your payments. Now, once you set up autopay, in order for this to work, you obviously have to make sure that your checking account has enough money to cover your bills. This goes back to the earlier goal of tracking your expenses, because if you know what your expenses are going to be, you can make sure you have that money in your account ahead of time. Now, one word of warning here, when you set up the autopay for your credit card, make sure you select the option to pay full statement balance rather than minimum payment. This will make sure that you're paying off your full credit card balance every month and not taking on more credit card debt. Number 6 is save 3 months worth of expenses in an emergency fund. Now, for some people, this might seem like a small amount, while for others, it might seem like a huge amount. So let me explain why I chose 3 months. First off, this is enough money to cover you in case you're laid off and need to start looking for a job again. According to the job posting site Indeed.com, it on average takes around 9 weeks or 2 months to find a new job. Having those 3 months saved will both reduce stress on you while also giving you a little bit of a buffer so you don't go broke while in between jobs. Additionally, this money will be there to cover you in case of an emergency like a broken car, an unexpected medical expense, or your roof caving in. The goal for this money is to provide a buffer between you and life. Most of us probably know someone who always seems to be in one financial emergency after another, and they can never seem to get back on their feet. Well, that can happen if you don't have an emergency fund. I kind of think about it like floating in the ocean. If you're just sitting out there by yourself, every time a wave hits you, it's gonna push you underwater and you're gonna have to swim your way back to the top. But if you have even a small life raft, you can just float on those waves and yeah, you'll feel them, but they're not gonna push you under the water. Now, one caveat, if you see yourself with the likelihood of having a major financial risk in the future, maybe you have some medical work coming up or you plan on having a baby soon, it might make sense to increase your emergency fund to 6 months just to give you a little bit of a bigger buffer. 7 is start investing. I know too many people, especially millennials who went through the 2008 financial crisis, who think that investing is the same thing as gambling. It's not. Investing is where you take your money and you put it to work for you, making more money. Yes, some investments are more risky than others, but what makes it an investment is the fact that you have mathematics on your side trying to make you money. Take the stock market. If you put a bunch of money into the stock market for one day and then pull it out at the end of the day, you probably have around a 50% chance of either losing money or making money. If you invest for a year, you have a higher chance of making money, but there's still a decent chance that you're gonna lose money. If, however, you were to invest in the stock market for 20 years, there has never been a period in the history of the stock market where you would not have made money. Get started in investing by buying a stock in a company or buying an index fund, or if stock investing isn't your thing, buy real estate. You need to get your money working for you if you ever want the chance to stop having to work for your money. If you already have investments, I would challenge you to learn about a different form of investing. If you're involved in stocks, maybe look into real estate. If you're in real estate, maybe try putting some money into index funds or reading up on stocks. Just get comfortable with the type of investments out there so you can start growing and diversifying your assets. 8 is to practice self-control. Now, this one sounds a little vague, but let's make it very specific. There are a few ways to practice self-control with your money. I would challenge you, if you're at a store and you see something you want, or you're shopping online and you have something in your shopping cart, to close your browser, leave the store, and come back 48 hours later to actually purchase the item. By delaying gratification, you take all the emotion out of making a purchase and only buy things that you actually want. Another way to practice self-control is to try using only cash for a week. By paying with cash, you limit yourself to only making purchases which you have the cash on hand to actually pay for right away. Also, several studies have shown that when paying with cash, you tend to spend less money because you feel the pain of handing over cash more than paying with a card. This helps establish the fact that you're spending real money and you have to give up something when you purchase something. The last way to practice self-control is to follow a strict budget for 1 month, tracking everything you spend and not spending more than you've allocated to a given category. story. Now, if you follow the earlier goal of tracking your expenses and your income, this will be a lot easier. By practicing self-control, we'll not only gain the financial benefit, but we'll also gain the benefit of asserting our will to control our impulses. Doing this is kind of like exercising a muscle. When you start out, it's going to be hard, but the more you do it, the stronger your will is going to become. The last goal, number 9, is to start a side hustle. I think in the same way that it's important to diversify your investments, it's also important to diversify your sources of income. One way to do this is to start some kind of side hustle which could supplement your normal job. Now, there are so many suggestions on YouTube for what kinds of side hustles you could start. You could flip clothes on Poshmark. You could start a YouTube channel. You could build a mobile app. You don't need to go crazy with this. Just find an area that you're already interested in, research how you can make money in that area, and then most importantly, go and do it. This really isn't something that you need to spend weeks planning out. In fact, I think if you spend too much time planning this, you may run into analysis paralysis, where you just spend all your time analyzing possible ways this could go wrong, rather than jumping in and actually getting started doing something. So just start. And if you already have a side hustle you're working on, maybe make your goal to earn money from that side hustle. Try to make $567 from your side hustle. FinTech, that's an oddly specific number. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. By making your goals hyper-specific, you're much more likely to follow through and achieve them than if you leave them general. So go out, start a side hustle, and let me know once you've earned your $567. Now we're gonna throw in a bonus goal that you can shoot for if you really wanna push yourself. Number 10, I suppose, is to increase your income by 25% this year. I know that's aggressive, but there are a few ways that you could achieve this. You could maybe get a raise at work. That's a pretty high raise, but it is possible in certain places. You could go and interview for higher paying jobs. In general, you'll make more money from switching jobs every 2 to 3 years than you will by staying at the same job for a long time. You could get a professional certification, which bumps your earning power, and then you can use that certification to negotiate either with your boss for a raise or with whatever company you're interviewing with to get a new job. Or you could go and start a side hustle that gives you 25% of whatever your normal pay is. Or you could just go with some combination of these options. Achieving all these goals in 2021 would not be easy for anyone. That's partly why these goals are valuable. I like to set aggressive goals because the higher you aim, even if you miss your target, the higher you'll end up. Now, I encourage you to take these goals that I have laid out and make them specific to you. So if the goal is set bills to autopay, what you should do is take out a piece of paper, write down all the exact accounts that you're going to set to autopay, and then put a date on when you're going to set that up. For tracking your money, list out exactly when you're going to start tracking, what app you're going to use, and how long you're going to track for. My recommendation would be forever. Making your goals both specific and personal will make you much more likely to actually follow through on them. So what are you waiting for? 2021? Get started on your goals right now and you'll be much more likely to complete them if you start them before the new year actually happens. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. And if you don't want to miss out on any future videos, make sure to both subscribe and hit the notification bell. Happy New Year.